Hello and welcome to round 7 here in Hungary for F3, and we're not joined by Bugatti today because he got his mid-season promotion to F2. That's what he was fighting for, and he's the only one that got promoted in that. So now we are left with our top spot fighters of Jamesy, Kuna Matata, and I think KLC is up there. Just have a little look now. So at the moment, Jamesy leads the championship. Kuna Matata is second. He is 24 points behind Jamesy on 64 points. Jamesy on 88. 39 points in third place is Smerton's Jake, who didn't start the first 3 races of the season, is on 38 points. So he's not far behind either in that sense. But yeah, we'll be looking for 4 cars to go up by the end of the season, and drivers will of course come down from F2. So we're just watching Keegan go around at the moment. He's currently P9, not the quickest of laps, a 1:19.1. We'll be looking for sort of high 1:17s here today. Obviously some of the drivers not quite as quick as the F1 guys, which you probably be seeing 1:17s, maybe even 1:16s later on at 9 o'clock for the F1 stream tonight. James at the moment fastest, and we'll go around with Timsha if we can. He's currently ghosting. Bendel coming through on his lap now. He's currently 7th. A little bit curb on exit, not too bad. Holding it in 5th gear, so he's going to be a bit slower through here. Yeah, he's running a bit wide as well. Will he take this next corner in 5th? That's the question. Oh, he's a bit wide through there. He would have lost quite a bit of time, I would imagine. Down into 4th gear. And then lining up for this penultimate corner. Very tricky to get right. Gotta hug the apex, and he's done well there in fairness. But he's actually coming in, so it wasn't his hot lap. And he's not going into the pits because he's just completely missed the pit entrance. Nice of that to be caught on stream. Keegan meanwhile is on a lap. He's got to try to hug the inside a bit early on the throttle. Is it going to be a 1:17? It's nowhere near a 1:17. It's a 1:18.9 though, so I think he jumped up a position or 2 from that. And currently he is quite a way down in the championship. He's in 9th place behind Polar Blizz. He's on 18 points, so Keegan needs to get his act together. Meanwhile, Aaron, his teammate, only on 15 points. He's not out at the moment, but he is currently sat in P6. So with just 2 minutes left of qualifying now. Jamesy has the provisional pole. Showjord slowest at the moment with 1:19.6. We'll see if he comes out. Try and catch him. Fear is 8th at the moment, so he's done pretty well there. There he is, Showjord's. And he's actually not on a lap at the moment. So he's just lining up for a lap by the looks of it. He lets one of the Haas cars go through. See as he lines up for his lap now. Great onboard view here. So here we go, Showjord's onto his last flying lap now. As Keegan has retired from the session, so that'll be 10th place or lower for him. Bit wide there out of turn 1 is Showjord's. As they come down now into turn 2, a tricky corner to get right. He's adjusting something on the steering wheel there as he's a bit wide through 2 and lost a bit of time there. And as they come up the hill now into this tricky turn 4, he's quite slow through there, really not pushing the boundaries at this moment in time. As Jamesy has called it a day, he thinks he's done. It's not the best middle sector in the world. Is it going to be faster than his previous best, or is he just lining up for another lap maybe? He has maybe just got enough time. Yeah, he must be lining up for another lap, but there's no way he's going to be challenging for a lap, for a competitive spot on the grid with this lap anyway. As you can see, the time has already ticked over past the lap times. He'll be coming around the last corner, so he'll be lining up for a lap now. He's got 7 seconds to cross the line. He's going to just do it. So we'll ride on board with Showjaws now for his lap. So it doesn't look like a bad lap from Showjaws at the moment. It looks pretty tidy, to be fair to him. He's down in 14th place at the moment, though, so he needs a good lap. Smerton's all the way down in 15th. He's maybe a bit tight on 8th. As Kuna Matata goes pole with a 1:17.8. And Showjaws, I'm not sure what he was trying to do there, but he is not going faster, so he will start 14th on the grid. And we should get our lineup shortly. So there we go, Kuna Matata on pole with a 1:17.8, a last gasp race for pole, and it is his. Jamesy starts second with a 1:18.0, Steve starts third, Ollie fourth, a good lap from him, Jake in fifth, KLC sixth, Cook Monster seventh, Tim Shirt in eighth, that's a good qualifying for him, Polar Blizz behind Aaron in 10th, Disabled Fear, a good lap in 11th, Keegan all the way down in P12, 13th is Bendel, 14th is Showjaws, and 15th is Smertons. Not used to seeing him down at the back. So as you can see, it is a wet race. I did forget to mention that in qualifying, but it will be a wet race today. So be interesting to see. And Ollie has pressed X, so he will receive 10 seconds. And as everyone else will ready up now, unfortunately not going to get very long to edit their strategies. The race will calm down in terms of how wet it's going to be towards the end of the race. The weather for today is heavy, light, then overcast. That is the official forecast for today's race. So it will be interesting, and Ollie now with his 10-second penalty is going to be very... it's going to be tricky for him to get off to a good start. So formation lap now, and hopefully we'll have a clean formation lap, as we'll just get all the settings ready for the race. And I think Showjaws had a bit of an issue there. There was an interesting delta time coming up. Hopefully he's fixed whatever that issue was. And of course they are all on the wet tyres. Okay, sorry about that. Back to normal now. So as you can see, all on the wet tyres. No one's tried to brave it on the intermediates, which is good to see, because I'm pretty sure that the intermediates in this weather would be horrific. So hopefully we will see. Interesting to see how much fuel these guys have got on board. And it looks like a lot of them have gone with plus 2 laps. As you can see, Ollie gone with a lot of under-fueled. Jake with quite a bit, KLC with quite a bit as well. Cook Monster has gone with 7.5 laps worth of fuel. Tim Shirt on a full lap. So Polar Blizzard, you can see that on the grid. Just waiting for the guys to come round. So we're just coming round the last corner now, onto the grid, ready for the start of this race here today at the Hungary. As Kuna Matata lines up on pole with Jamesy just behind him. Steve third, Ollie fourth, Jake fifth, KLC in sixth. In the Haas seventh is Cook Monster, eighth is Timsher, ninth Aaron Taylor, 10th is Polar Blizz, he's on the grid. 11th is Disabled Fear, so he's had a pretty good qualifying for him. 12th is Keegan, 13th Bendel, 14th Showjords, and rounding out the back of the grid is Smertens. He will start from P15. So 15 runners today. Hopefully they've all got off to a good start. And the lights are out and away we go here. Looks like a cleanish start for Kuna Matata. Jamesy looks like he might have got the run down the inside. We've got a Red Bull down the inside as well. Kuna Matata's got away nicely there, and that's Steve making a move into the first corner. Jamesy coming back though, and he's clipped the front of the Ferrari as Kuna Matata. One of the Force Indies very wide in the background. And I wonder if we've had any offs at the first corner. It looks to me like we've all got away okay. Yep, Smertens, you can see they're just a little bit further behind, but Kuna Matata leads, and that is very important at this track because it's so hard to overtake. Oh, we've got a Sauber going off the track further back, and I wonder who that was. And hopefully we've had no casualties at this early stage. Keegan is all over the place. We've got Aaron Taylor bumping wheels with one of the Renaults just in front. And is he going to have a look now down into the chicane? We've got a couple of cars going over the sausage curbs as the Sauber again going over the sausage curbs. That is Cook Monster in that Sauber. So you can see he's struggling for grip here, Cook Monster, in this tricky conditions. And he's in the wall already. Cook Monster, I can't see him lasting very long in this race, as we can see their cars left and right trying to avoid him. And it is just shocking right now. And he's trying to go around the outside of one of the Renaults, banging wheels as they come through the second to last corner now. And who's that down at the back? I believe that is Showjords. It is indeed. So Kuna Matata leads at the end of lap 1. And at the end of lap 1 we have a massive battle going on for second place. It's Jamesy, Ollie, and I believe that is Steve. It is indeed. So the two Red Bulls doing wonders at the moment. KLC is in 5th place. We've got Jake, and Showshorts has gone, so he will not be participating anymore in this race. Jamesy trying to cover off the inside now, and Steve trying to go and try and take a different line through turn 2. He's going very wide to try and get the grip, and he's almost taken out his teammate there as they come out of turn 2. And the Force India having a little look in the background. There's the two Red Bulls going around in 3rd and 4th at the moment. Bendel, I think that is all over the back of Keegan. It is. And Polar Blitz making a move there. Fear is still in. He's actually dropped down, and one of the McLarens, I think that was Aaron Taylor, getting very out of shape there. He's behind Polar Blizz at the moment, so he's got to be a bit patient to try and get past him. Polar Blizz is not the quickest, but by far not the slowest in this division. He's got a bit about him, and he's pushing for a promotion spot at the moment. If he can get a few more good results. So they come to the end of lap 2. Now Kuna Matata, as you can see there, that lead opening up, and Jamesy's pulled a bit of a gap now to Steve. Ollie in 4th, just behind him. Aaron's done well off the start. He's up into 9th. Polar Blizz up into 8th place, so he's had a decent start. And do we have someone in the pits? Ollie's had an incident. So has he just gone off, or is he actually in the pits? No, we've just had a glitch there. So Ollie's still going around in P4. Yep, that is Ollie. So Ollie's reading his 14th, but he is still in position as Cook Monster makes a move now on, I believe that was Keegan. Bendel and Fear having a little go at each other, as we can see that right at the back of the running order at the moment. We've got Fear and the two Renaults jostling for position. Ollie, as you can see, corrected back up into 4th there, so the timing screen glitching out a little bit there. So fearing a Renault sandwich at the moment. He's got to try and get himself out of that. His teammate is currently winning the race. So he's definitely not going to be fighting for a number 1 spot in that perspective. We've got Sauber again cutting the corners. Cook Monster once more just unable to find a good line through there. Aaron all over the back of Polar Blizzard. Just can't get close enough though to make a move, even down the straights. And as we see now coming down into... Oh, we've got a car in the background. Who was that just went off? Was it possibly one of the... was it Fear maybe? As we see there right up the front, we've got a move going on, and it's Steve is having a look at Jamesy. Kuhn Matard sets the fastest lap, but Steve has he got the straight line speed as he comes past the Ferrari into turn 1? Does he have the move done? And he's forcing Jamesy to the outside, and it looks like he's going to get the move done down here into turn 1, but Jamesy is holding it around the outside as they come down now into turn 2, and they look to have a bit of an incident because they were very slow coming out of that corner, and Jamesy has now dropped back a little bit. So maybe a bit of a tangle between those two, but Steve has the move done, and Ollie coming under pressure from Jake now in the background, and Jake has got past Ollie, so Ollie not having a good race at the moment. Jake all over the place though, coming up into turn 4, but he holds the position for now. Force India having a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 3 there, a little kink. It won't be flat in this weather by any means. It is a very difficult corner because of the nature of it. And they're wanting to be taking it flat because of how you take it in the dry. So Kuhn Matard still leads. He's got a 3.8 second gap now to Steve. And sorry, 3.4. It's actually gone up, and it's going up and down quite a lot. So he must have a different setups where they're just quicker on straights and or corners. But the gap coming down to 3.2 there. So Steve getting a move on. He's got past Jamesy, and he's on the charge now. He is closing Kuhn Matard down. He's already taken 6/10 out of him, and he is really pushing it now, Steve. So we'll have a look at the gap next lap. The gap was down to 3.2. It's back up to 3.4. It's down to 3.0 now though, and he's forever closing by the looks of it, and Jamesy's just going to get pulled along. So Jake setting the fastest lap though. He's on fire at the moment, starting P5, and Ollie starting P4 has not had the best race so far. He was up into P3 at one point, and he's dropping back at the moment. He's got to get a move on. Timsha coming up just behind the Red Bull now in the other Force India. Him and Jake having good races so far. Polar Blizz up into 7th place, sorry, as well, so he's having a good race. Cook Monster's dropped off a bit. KLC has dropped right to the back, so he's in the pits, I'm presuming. He's had an incident with someone. He's not even in the pits, so whether he pitted last lap or he's just had a spin at the end of this one, I'm not quite sure. Kuhn Matata's lead is getting smaller, and whether he's got the pace to really push on or not, I'm not quite sure, but Steve is definitely catching us. Jamesy's within a second of Steve, and Jake's within a second of Jamesy as well, and all of these top 6 are all within a second of each other, so they'll be chasing each other around on this track, and it'll be interesting to see where these guys pit as well, because obviously the changing weather scenarios today will cause problems for the drivers. It'll be interesting to see when inters are the better tyre. Coming to the end of the 5th lap now, and it looks like everyone's beginning to just settle down a little bit. Fear down in P12, he's not having the best so far. Smertens has obviously leapfrogged Showjaws, who's out the race, and KLC, who's had an incident somewhere. We're not quite sure what happened there, but Steve doesn't set the fastest up. Jamesy faster, so Steve not necessarily catching at the moment. So we've had a yellow in sector 1. There's a cars that have dropped off. Is that Ollie's gone all the way back to 6th, and he's disconnected, so he's had enough of it. He's lost part of his wing. I'm not quite sure what's happened there, so he's obviously either disconnected or rage quit. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but Polar Blizz is up to 6th place, so he's doing well. Timshit up to 5th place as well. Steve is dropping right down as well, so what's happened to him? He's gone wide out of turn 2, so Steve has lost a lot of positions there. He's trying to keep out of the way of Cook Monster, who's now gone past as well. So both the Red Bull casualty are taking casualties in a matter of corners And it's really not gone well for them as Keegan's now behind Steve as well. Ollie's back in the session, so he's obviously just disconnected, but he's got half a front wing, so he's not going to be posing any threats at the moment. Steve very sensibly letting Keegan through. He's got no front wing at the moment, or he's just got no grip on those tyres, not quite sure. But he's definitely not in a place to fight for position, so he's let Keegan through there. By the looks of things. Ollie, meanwhile, down in P13, he was in P5, P6. And now, as you can see, half a front wing, and it's just not going very well for him at the moment. James is back up into second now. Jake into third. Timshire to fourth. So Force India, third and fourth, have replaced the Red Bulls, who really aren't doing that well at the moment. But James, he's lost a second to Kuna Matata. He's obviously had an incident with Steve somewhere. Jamesy dropping back again, but it's this man Jake who's very quick at the moment. Timshire, his teammate behind him, has had a great race so far. He's up to a fourth place, and Polar Bliss behind them is up into fifth place, so he's had a very good start as well. These three are very impressed with at the moment. Very clean starts and a very good pace at the moment by the looks of things, but Kuna Matata has that 4-second lead over Jamesy. And let's just see if KLC has made a pit stop somewhere, so he's the only one to have made a stop at the moment. Ollie's actually in the pits now, so he's getting his wing changed. And Ollie demoted all the way down to the last. And Bendel has crashed somewhere, and he was right down at the back. So hopefully we'll be able to see on board with KLC maybe where he's put it in the wall. There it is, so he's just run wide, maybe, or he's just completely misjudged the braking zone, but he is out the race, and that's unfortunate because Bendel was actually just on the bubble of the promotion spots, only 9 points off, so that would have done him all the good, especially with Smertens that was behind him, but not anymore. The Renault teammates, of course, doing well in the constructors. Actually, they're fifth at the moment, so not too bad. Force India will get a good points haul today if they can continue, but it's all about those promotion spots at the moment. Smerton's up into P11, so Fear's also up into P10, so he's not done too bad. But at the moment, Timshire has made actually a move on his teammate. We've missed that, and he is actually quite a bit in front now, and we've got pressure from Aaron Taylor and Polar Blitz behind. There's actually a massive queue behind Jake, so whether Jake's got damage or something, I'm not quite sure. He can go very wide in the background, trying to get around the back of Cook Monster. We'll ride on board now, and as you can see, there's just very little grip for these cars, especially in these wet conditions, and the lack of downforce when behind another car. But these 5 cars all in the train, and it's all about keeping it clean at the moment. And Polar Blitz at the moment, and Keegan pushes Cook Monster through the corner. I'm sure there'll be a steward's inquiry about that one, that's for sure, but Keegan up into 7th place nonetheless. Polar Blitz has a shocker through the chicane, and Keegan's all over the back of him, and Polar Blitz actually, not sure if he lets him through or what, but Polar Blitz having a mare at the moment. He was doing really well, and now he's just started to make mistakes, unfortunately for him. And now we've got one of the Renaults, that's Smertens, just behind him. Oh my goodness, Smertens was all over the place coming through that fast. Well, it's not very fast in the wet S section. He's gonna maybe have a look. Not gonna make the move though. Will Polar Blitz pit? That'll be interesting to see, because obviously if he's got damage, then he's not going to be going round with that. Jamesy's dropped off again. He's in the pits though, so Jamesy maybe feels it's time for inters. Let's go on board with him. Is he going to put the intermediates on? Let's just have a little look. Yes, so Jamesy taking a gamble onto the intermediates early, so he thinks it's time. He thinks the intermediates are the faster tyre. It'll be interesting to see. He's the only one that's come in at the moment. This promotes Timshire all the way up into 2nd place, and his teammate up into 3rd. Aaron Taylor all the way up into 4th place. Now he's had a good race. Keegan up into 5th, so McLaren's and Force Indias have done really well so far. And of course we've had Jamesy pit, Steve have an incident, KLC pitted very early on, and Ollie having an incident, but he is miles behind now. And has he actually made 2 pit stops? Let's just have a little look. Yeah, so Ollie's made 2 pit stops. But Jamesy in clean air, I presume, at the moment. We'll just have a little check whether he's actually in clean air or not. Yeah, he's in clean air, so he can push now. He's got a 5.5 second gap to Fear in front of him, so he can push. He's already taken half a second out of him in that sector. Looks maybe a bit edgy on these tyres. Maybe it's not quite time. He's taking time out of Fear, but Fear not being one of the quickest is not the best comparison. We'll get gap to leader up, so it's 23.9 at the moment. Kuna Matata in the lead, and it has come down by 4/10. So Jamesy is quick at the moment, and we've had Polar Blizz go off, so we'll just see where he is in terms of where he's gone off. And as you can see there, Fear right on the back of him. Smertens and Polar Blizz pitting. Fear does feel it's time, so he's going to pit now. Has Jamesy done enough to get out in front of Jake? He had a bit of a gap to him originally. And Jake, is he going to get held up? No, he's not, so he's out straight away. Timsha is already... No, he didn't pit. So where is Jamesy at the moment? Let's have a look. And he is out well in front of Jake, so that's worked out nicely for the Ferrari driver. Steve sets the fastest lap, so he's on intermediates as well. So whether Jamesy knew that or not, that's proved very fruitful for him. He's got a nice gap to Jamesy now, so we can just push on. Aaron Taylor in third. He's not pitted, so Keegan has pitted. Where is Keegan? He was in P4 and he's down to P8, but obviously Kuna Matata, Timsha, Aaron Taylor and Cook Monster, I want to say, haven't pitted. Cook Monster has pitted, so it's just the top three that haven't stopped so far. Keegan's a bit wide, he's pushing the car as hard as he can, trying to get back up to the rear of Cook Monster. Obviously, these two had that collision last lap, and Ollie setting the fastest lap on the intermediate, so the track is getting faster. Whether these guys can make it work for them or not, we'll see. Fear all the way down in 11th still. Polar Blizz all the way down in 10th. He was doing so well. I think he was up to 5th at one point. So it's not going well for him. And Kuna Matata and Timsha are in. So we'll watch Kuna Matata now. Question is he going to get held up? No, he's definitely not going to get held up by Timsha. And the intermediate tyres do indeed go on to that Toro Rosso. A little bit slow with the rear right maybe. All good though. At the moment, we'll see where he comes out. And Aaron Taylor's gone through, but where is James? He's come past now, and James is going to get it. Coming into turn one, trying to go round the outside. His tyres will be much warmer, but Kuna Matata looks like he's got the drive out the corner. Is he going to cover off the inside? No, he's not. James is not quite going to have a look. He's just put a nose in there. And Kuna Matata holds it round the outside. Great racing from those two to keep it clean. And is Jamesy maybe going to have a look into turn four? Surely not. It's a very tricky corner to even attempt to move, let alone get through without having some form of contact. But those two very good there. And Kuna Matata holds the lead, but he's lost almost 4 seconds, 5 seconds maybe. So definitely, and they're being held up now by Aaron. So Aaron is doing wonders for his teammate at the moment. If he can keep backing them up. Keegan, who is not too far behind, I don't think. He's coming through the middle sector now. So he's not a million miles behind. He's got a bit of a gap though. He is 16 seconds behind, so that is going to help him. Bendel has left the session after his DNF. Aaron's lost the position, or has he? We need to be on board with this really. And oh my goodness gracious me, is he going to have a look up the inside of James? He touches his back end, but he's really struggling on these wet tyres, so I'm presuming he's going to pit now, and indeed he does. So he's probably going to have lost quite a few positions, because Keegan is only 16 seconds behind him at one point, and it's about 20 seconds for a pit stop. So he's in the pits now. He was just in front of Keegan, I believe, as Jake sets the fastest lap of the race. Keegan in front of Fear at the moment, and Aaron's going to lose out massively here, because Fear is not far behind Keegan. Where is Aaron? He's still in the pits, so he's going to be... It's a very slow stop for him. And Ollie's not going to get past his KLC. No, KLC's in the pit, so he's actually still on the wet tyres. And Aaron Taylor, that did not work out for him at all. He's all the way down in 11th now. Everyone has now made a pit stop, so we're back into race order. Kuna Matata still leads, but he's only got an 8/10 gap to Jamesy, so it's one little mistake and he's right back on him. Just behind Jake, 5 seconds or so. Jamesy of course went for the undercut, didn't quite work, but he's definitely taken time out of his opponent here for the race win. But Jamesy of course does lead the championship, so Kuna Matata needs these points. He has got a 24-point deficit to the driver behind him, Jamesy, so he does need these points, Kuna Matata. And we'll see how that develops throughout the race. Timsha meanwhile has been jumped by his teammate, and Steve is back up into 5th, so Steve's made that work for him quite well. I believe Steve is on the Inters, he is indeed. So he's done well there, considering he had an incident fairly early on. And we're not quite halfway yet, but we're getting there. Kuna Matata sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:33.6. The track is of course getting faster every lap at the moment as it dries out, approaching our clear period towards the end of the race. Polar Blitz losing out there to Smertens, so I'm not quite sure what happened there, whether there was contact or not. It's a good enough exit for Smertens to not worry about conceding the position. Just in front, have we got a move? No, that's the wrong way. Fear quite a decent amount of time in front. Keegan's got a push now though, after his teammates held the leaders up for him. Cook Monster very wide coming out of turn 3, using all of that curb. I think we had a yellow there for a second, but it's okay now. Using very low revs to try and minimise that wheel spin, but he's just not got the downforce, it looks like, as Ollie sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:26.4. Now I'm pretty sure the last fastest lap was a 1:33, so I'm not sure how he's done that. Ollie's actually lagged out, so that would have been why he would have probably lag bubbled over the line. He disconnects again. Trying to get the car turned in. He's doing quite well, Cook Monster, to be fair to him, having had that incident early on. Kuna Matata leads the race though, not by much from Jamesy, only takes a little mistake, but now with the wheel in his hands, looks like he might have this win in the bag if he can keep it together for another 22 laps or so. No safety car of course still, because of the glitches occurring, so won't allow anyone to jump anyone through that. Unfortunately, it does make for a better race, I have to say, but unfortunately the safety car does glitch, so we will not be having safety car until it is fixed by Codemasters. Jake just dropping off the back of Jamesy a little bit. Timsha has he closed up? No, he's just defending from Steve at the moment. So Timsha going round at the moment with pretty decent pace, has to be said. Jamesy had a little moment coming out of 3, I did notice, so he's lost a couple of tenths again to Kuna Matata, who's just not got the pace in that Ferrari. Having made the undercut early on, he's just not been able to keep with the Toro Rosso driver. And Ollie, what's the gap? It's 3.8 seconds, so he's not having a good race. His lag causing him issues at the moment. KLC not the best for lag either, but it's Aaron Taylor who's probably not had the best of races by any means, down by 2 positions. Everyone else up apart from Steve, who had that incident, possibly with Jamesy, I think it was. Keegan's had a good race though, he's up to P7, Fear's up to P8, so he's had a decent chunk of position changes somewhere. Polar Blizz, unfortunately for him, he was in 5th, but he's dropped all the way down to 10th after a little spin. It's so easy to lose the back end in these cars, especially in the wet weather. We watch Keegan now coming around the last corner to complete his 15th lap, and he's got a bit of fresh air now, so whether he can push and catch up to the back of Cook Monster, it doesn't look like it though. It looks like he's still losing time. 9.1 is the gap, and he's dropped off from the leaders as well, so he's lost 5 or 6 seconds or so to the leaders. We've got a yellow in sector 3. Can only presume that's one of Ollie or KLC. It is indeed Ollie, so he's obviously just been pushing it too hard and he's spun it on that curb. It's quite an easy corner to lose it, in fairness, especially in this weather. Miles unfortunately has joined very late, and Ollie's lost it again, so unfortunately I don't think he'll be finishing the race. And these guys are going to be approaching pretty quickly, so Ollie needs to make sure he's out of the way. As you can see, he's just not got it in him for this weather. Interesting to see if he gets out of the way. He's pitting, so that will counter. And Jamesy's actually caught a bit here, so Ollie has retired, gone into the pits. Good to see from him going into the pits and not just binning it in a wall, as we've seen quite a few times before from his teammate, his previous teammate, the player as well. So it's good to see from Ollie there retiring in the pits, not causing anyone any issues. Jake still in third at the moment. And everyone's still on the intermediates at the moment. Jake going round in third, he's dropping off a little bit. Steve is making a move on Timsher, and he's got past, presumably coming out of turn one. Oh, and Timsher's punted him in the rear. And I wonder if he's got a bit of wing damage from that. Hopefully not for his sake, but he was defending from Steve for a couple of laps or so. And now he's got a Cook Monster behind him in the... No, he hasn't. Or no, he has got him behind him, sorry. So just dropped off a little bit there, coming through turn 4. Timsher, though, has got to try and get back past the Steve, because he's got good pace. And I'd hate to see him lose out after being so promising early on. Does have his moments where he does have a bit of brilliance, so he needs to try and bring that through now. Aaron makes a move on Polar Blizz for the last points position. Polar Blizz must have just had a spin because he's got a huge gap already. And Jake still third. Has he caught maybe a little bit? And as we can see, the fastest laps at the moment. Kuna Matata does have the fastest lap, even though it says Ollie does a 1:26. That won't be counted in the final standings. So Kuna Matata on for a Grand Slam at the moment. 33.4 is the fastest lap. The Cook Monster. And Steve has actually got a little bit of a gap, and Timsher's lost the position. Oh, he's going to fight back coming through turn 2. They touch wheels, and Cook Monster's going to force him wide. He's going to push him right out to the boundaries of the track, and he's got through. Timsher unable to hold the position, so these two presumably going to be fighting for a while yet, because they're both very similar pace. Cook Monster with the not so good qualifying has managed to get himself back into a decent point scoring position. He started 7th, so not too bad to be fair to him. Well, I did think he started further down that, but Smertens has been the big gain so far. Polar Blizz has really just dropped off since his incident, unfortunately for him. Vera is up into 8th place, that's good for him. Keegan up into 7th place, very good for him. And obviously the top two have stayed in position. Kuna Matata's led pretty much every lap bar when the pit stops were made. In fact, he may have actually led every lap, because it's bar one, except when Aaron Taylor didn't pit, so he's doing well at the moment. Follow these two round again in a second, because James is close to the back of Kuna Matata. He's not close enough though. Half a second is just far too far back, especially in these cars with the lack of straight line speed and slipstream effect that they get. And back to these two fighting for 5th position. Doesn't look like anything's going to come of this in the near future, so we might just skip over. Keegan is dropping back at the moment, so unfortunately for him, he's probably not going to catch those guys. Fear is closing up by the looks of it to the back of Keegan. He's getting a bit too close to the grass there. Fear has a decent pace here though by the looks of things. He qualified in P11. His initial lap was fairly good. And as we look at the gap now, it is under a second, so he is catching Keegan. Whether Keegan's just saving fuel or he is actually struggling, I'm not quite sure. But the gap to the McLaren from the Toro Rosso is around a second, sort of in and around that time at the moment. And Keegan going a bit wide there through the S section. Fizz just got to keep that rear under control, and has he kept it? He's done well there, to be fair to him. He's lost out on all that time though. And it's unfortunate to see the ballast just catching him out there. So he's got to make it all back up again. He's only lost 9/10 of a second or so, so he's not lost too much, to be fair to him. He did well there. So he's managed to keep that. Tim has dropped off the back now of Cook Monster. Unfortunately, he's about a second behind, but Cook Monster's catching Steve. So we've got another battle forming here. Jamesy still just not getting close enough to Kuna Matata. And Fear actually catching Keegan again, so Keegan must be pretty slow at the moment as Ollie finally leaves the session after retiring some laps ago. As we have gone past the half distance mark now. And can Kuna Matata prevent Jamesy from getting through when the second round of pit stops will be made? Because I'm presuming this light rain period will last for another 5 to 10 laps. We'll begin to see pitting, the cars pitting for slicks within that time period, hopefully, because it will make for some good racing, that's for sure. But at the moment, Smerton's not having a very good race. He will only get 2 points towards his promotion hopes, which will put him onto 41. Jake will leapfrog him. He will get a 15 points for his third place if it stays as it is, so he'll go on to 53 points, which will put him above Smerton's. KLC out of the race. Well, he's not out of the race, but he's almost a minute down on the leader, so I wouldn't expect him to be picking up any points, unfortunately for him. Which means Cook Monster in 5th will pick up 10 points, and he will move on to 36, so he'll be just on the edge of the promotion spots. He'll be behind Smertens in terms of points. Down the back, no one really scoring points in that sense. Showjaws has retired. Fear will be getting 4 points, so they'll move him up ahead of Ollie. And it will be level with Aaron then, because Aaron is 3 points ahead currently. Steve on... Oh, and there's KLC in the foreground, and he's just... I'm not sure if he's led him through, if he's gone wide there, but KLC not in a good position at the moment. As we see Fear's dropped off the back of Keegan again. He's lost a couple of seconds or so. James is dropping off as well, the back of Kuna Matata. And KLC just losing around 20 seconds or so then, unfortunately, so he's not having the best of races by any means. Aaron Taylor though, look how close he is to the back of Smerties. He's desperate to try and get past the Renault. He needs these points. He needs points for promotion, and this would put him on to 17 points rather than 16 if he can get past Smertens. But at the moment it looks like Smertens being able to keep his car ahead of the McLaren, as Steve sorry, I thought it was a position change, but no, he's still in the 4th place position. As Tim Shirt and Cook Monster, as you can see there, the gap much larger than it was a few laps ago. No gaps really under a second, bar the race for 9th place. As KLC lets him pass. Aaron looks like he's got a... We were riding aboard with... Oh, and he's not surely going to block Aaron off, and he has. Oh, Aaron Taylor with a dive bomb, and that is not how you make a move on either a lapped car or a car on the same lap as you. And hopefully he's not going to make a move down here into turn 2, because that would just be silly. Good, he backs out of it. So he's lost half of his front wing there, and he will have to pit. So Aaron's chances of any points have just gone straight out the window, because he's going to have to pit again, and then pit again once the track dries out. So he's going to lose out massively here, unless he can continue to go around with that half a front wing. He's very late on the brakes at the moment. KLC didn't help him though into turn 1, but we saw it last week where Aaron made a bit of a mess of a move on Keegan, and that's KLC going across the chicane. Hopefully we won't have any issues there, because KLC being a lap down shouldn't be fighting for position by any means. Question is Aaron going to pit? Because he looks like he's sort of got it under control. He's just lost an end plate on the left side. Whether that's enough or not to actually slow him down or not, we'll see. And he's not pitting, so he's going to carry on with that wing. And to be fair to him, he seems to be staying with Smertens, so he's clearly not being affected, and he's probably closer than he's been for a while. 4.5 cents just isn't enough. And he's hit the back of Smertens again, and that is completely his own fault. And he has called it a day. So Aaron has retired from the session. We will not be seeing him anymore. Unfortunately for Aaron, just getting a bit too keen to get past Mertens and taking his wing off his McLaren there, and he's now out the race. So KLC promoted into 11th. He's only one place out of the points now. So in fairness to him, he's picking people off. If he can just keep going, and hopefully one other person... Oh, never mind, as I say that, he leaves the session, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Keegan, meanwhile, has a decent lap now to 5 seconds, almost. And the gap is the same for James, so whether Jamesy's had a bit of an issue or not quite sure. Everyone's fairly spread out at the moment. Tim Schutt and Cook Monster are the closest, but the gap is probably a little bit closer than it has been in previous laps, but it's by no means close enough for an overtake, as Jake has pitted. So I wonder if it's surely not for slicks. It's not. He's back on the inter, so he's obviously had a call from his engineer, or he's made a call himself that the inters are going to be to the end now. So he's made that early stop in terms of the second stop. He's come out in 7th place. He'll be quicker at this stage though. He's got a lighter car, he's got fresher tyres. Whether he can make that work for him or not, we will find out. Whether the rain will stop or not, we will also find out. I said 5 to 10 laps, around lap 15 I believe, so it doesn't look like he's going to be drying up, especially with Jake pitting, unless he's had wing damage somewhere. He was still in 3rd place I think, so interesting to see why he's pitted if he didn't have front wing damage. But as I say, he probably just got a call from his engineer saying that the rain was till the end of the race, so we'll see how that works out for him. He's now stuck behind Keegan. We'll stay on board with him for now. He closes up to the back of the McLaren. Corner by corner at the moment, he is so much quicker than Keegan. He gets a little bit too aggressive over the curb there. Coming down now into turn 12. Could be a decent overtaking opportunity for him, but he's got to be careful not to take his wing off, or worse. There's obviously now Steve promoted into 3rd place because of that. And Keegan at the moment struggling for a bit of pace. Of course, Fear is just behind these guys. I say just behind, he's got a 5.5 second gap. Is he going to have a look into turn 1 now? He's got the straight line speed, but is he going to be close enough? Keegan having a little look at going defensive, and Jake goes for the move, and to be fair to him, Keegan left the door wide open and he's got through. A good move from Jake there. He wasn't very aggressive in terms of how late he braked, and he just caught Keegan off guard there. Very good move from Jake on those fresher tyres, and Keegan just had no response, so a good move there. And he's up into 6th place now, so he's only 3 places down on where he pitted from. Of course, he's got a bit of fresh air now to Tim Schutt, his teammate, who will presumably let him through. But of course, these guys fighting for promotion, which is not a team effort, it is an individual effort. And at the moment, Jake is leading those two in terms of promotion chances. Has got almost double his teammates' points, so you'd think Tim Schutt would let him through, but you never know. They may just let each other race. But he seems to be comfortable here in the wet, Jake. He seems to have confidence in the car, and that's something that a lot of these guys don't have in these wet conditions. And the gap to leader is 27 seconds, so Jake has really got to try and push if he wants to catch Hakuna Matata before the end of the race. Has it stopped raining maybe, actually? I wonder if it stopped raining, because we've got a couple of raindrops still coming down, but I can't really see anything in terms of raindrops on the cars, and it does look like it's clearing up, even though the track is still wet. So I did say 5 to 10 laps is right on the brink of those 10 laps, but we'll see come the end of lap 25 whether these guys will pit or not. Kuna Matata still going round on his first set of intermediates. You can see that Jake with the 2-stop, and everyone on the inters at the moment, but it does look like it's drying up at the moment. So is it going to be a shootout for the last 6 or 7 laps, maybe even more, depending on how confident they are in these conditions? We'll find out soon. A little bit iffy through the last corner, but Kuna Matata is pulling away from Jamesy. He's just not got a reply at the moment. He's just got no reply. We have Cook Monster in the pit though, so is he putting on these slick tyres? Does he feel it's time? In he comes, and he's on the super soft tyres, and there was someone else behind him coming in as well. Who was it? I'm pretty sure there was one of the pit crews ready. Maybe not. Kuna Matata with that huge lead of 9.1 seconds. And we have a yellow in sector 1. So we're just trying to see what that is now. Oh, and it is Cook Monster. So he's just had a pit stop, put on the slick tyres, and he's immediately lost it. So the slick's obviously not holding their own at the moment. And he's sideways through turn 2. Polar Blizz's trying not to hit him, and he's trying very hard, Cook Monster, to try and keep that drift alive. But he's put it in the wall. And I think that's his chance of points, or any more than 1 point at least, gone. He's lost the front wing. KLC's AI is still going around, but it's a lap down. So Cook Monster, if he keeps going, a guaranteed point. James, he stays out. Kuna Matata stays out. The track is drying up. Polar Blizz. Jake's gone! Jake has gone! Oh my goodness! And he's obviously been pushing that car very hard indeed, and he's completely lost the back end coming out of turn 11, I believe that is. And that is a big incident. He's lost the front left by the looks of it, yep. And Jake is out the race. Oh, how unfortunate for him. He was pushing hard on those fresh intermediates, and it's just completely backfired, unfortunately for him. So that will promote Fear up to 6th place, and Fear is actually in the pits as I speak, and he is in for what will probably be super soft tyres. It is indeed super soft tyres, so he will be on those until the end now. As Cook Monster comes round the penultimate corner, he will presumably pit, so he's got 2 points now in the bag as long as he keeps it out the wall. Yep, Sauber driver pits now. And yep, Jake gone from that. Smertens, having started last on the grid, is now up to P6, so a good race from him so far. Of course, he's got to pit again, which will promote Fear, and I think that'll be it actually, because everyone else behind him has either not made a pit stop or is a long way behind. So it's good for him. We'll see if Kuna Matata pits. No, he stays out. Steve up into second. Has Jamesy put it in the wall? He has somewhere, because he is struggling like crazy at the moment, and he's pitting for slicks now. Steve has got past him somewhere, and if we look behind, oh, and Timsha very nearly clipping the back of him. And as you can see, the Force India so close to the back of the Ferrari. Keegan stays out on his intermediate tyres, and that was luckily AI. I thought he was having contact with the car in front, but he is staying out on those tyres for now. And Steve has also gone to the super softs there. We've got a Ferrari, that is Jamesy in the background, also on super soft tyres. Everyone using the super softs at this stage. Smerton's also in. So where is Fear? That is the one we've got to watch out for. He's coming through turn 12 now into turn 13. Is he going to get past Smertons? Has this lap been good? It looks maybe just a little bit too slippy, and he's got a massive tag slapper coming out the last corner. Second to last corner, sorry. He's got to try and keep the revs low. He's got to try and keep the car turned in. Correcting the oversteer like crazy. Where is Smertons? There he is. He's already out, so Smertons has had a much better lap. I think he may be out already in front, but Fear has jumped Polar Blizz in that, and as we can see, Fear another massive correction for oversteer. Oh, and we see Polar Blizz spinning it out of turn 1. Just not quite ready for those slippery patches at the moment, and he is possibly going to be caught by a Cook Monster here, actually, if he's not careful. But Cook Monster's pitting, so never mind. He's obviously gone off track, and then some more. Keegan in P2 at the moment. Is he going to try and go to the end? Nope, he's going to pit. So let's see, has he played his cards well here, Keegan? Kuna Matata's also in the pits. Polar Blizz is finally put in the wall, so Cook Monster will get 8th place. KLC, if he was in the session, would get 9th place, but he's not in the session. Whereas Steve, oh my goodness, he's flown past Kuna Matata. Oh no, he hasn't. Kuna Matata's already out. Sorry, my bad. Kuna Matata's well out in front. Of course, it was Jamesy who was behind him, and Jamesy is all the way down in 5th place. So he's really bottled that one as Jamesy. And it looks like he's going to come home in P5, maybe P4 if he can get a move on Keegan done. Keegan has done very well here at the moment. He's up into P4, he's made those intermediates work wonders for him, and he's onto the slick tyres, which will be fresher than everyone else's, with 7 laps to go now. So he's done well there, Keegan. In fairness to him, Fear in 7th place. How close is he to Smertons? He's got a 10-second gap, so he's really not going to be causing any problems for the Renault driver at this stage. And as we can see, the gap to Kuna Matata from Steve is 19 seconds, so there's really not going to be any competition there. The one to watch will probably be Keegan and Jamesy, the 2 Scotsmen going at it. And race controls, you can see that in the bottom left, have enabled DRS, so this will make overtakes. Oh, Jamesy has lost it, and this will give Smertons a chance to catch up, but he's so far behind, I don't think it's going to matter. So Keegan will be, not that he'll know probably, but he's catching Timshire. Or is that just KLC's lapped car? And Jake has left the session. I believe that is KLC's lapped car, it is. But Timshire has got to keep his worries about him at the moment. He's only got a 5-second gap, so a little mistake, especially in these conditions, can cost you a lot more than it normally would. Kelsey has joined back for the last 5 laps, so he will get his points if he can unlap himself from Polar Blizz. He's 3 laps down at the moment and in the pit, so KLC, unfortunately for him, has got to just put the laps in. As you can see, 3 minutes down there on the Delta. And that's on Cook Monster as well, so he's quite a long way behind. He's 2 laps behind the leader, about to be lapped for a 3rd time, I would imagine. And there you go, KLC unlaps himself from Polar Blizz, so he will get 2 points. Steve going around at the moment in 2nd place. He's had a pretty clean race after his incident in the first few laps. And they're just going around at the moment, putting in the lap times, keeping it clean, and he will get himself a 2nd place if he can keep it like this. Is that Keegan? No, it's not. It's Cook Monster behind him, so Cook Monster going into the pits again, which will allow KLC actually to catch up to him. You can see there the Sauber driver heading into the pits for another set of super softs, presumably. And Polar Blizz leaving the session after his retirement earlier on. So we have 15 starters. We have 9 currently running at the moment with 5 laps to go. Keegan taking a rather interesting line through turn 1. He's got to push now to catch Timsher. He is catching. So Keegan is catching the Force India, as you can see there, just in front on your screen. And I just want to have a quick look where... Oh, never mind. He's 40 seconds behind. So never mind that. Battle for 8th place. But Keegan definitely on the charge here. Jamesy in 5th. It's some 8 seconds behind, so he's probably not going to be causing Keegan any issues in these last few laps. But we'll move on for a second to next week, where hopefully we'll have a bit more overtaking. Our next track on the calendar is Spa, so that will prevent it would create more opportunities for overtaking, especially with that massive straight, and DRS will be in action. Hopefully it won't rain. You never know, it might come this time of year. But after Belgium we have Bahrain, which is another good track for overtaking. Baku, of course, with its massive straight, will surely enable lots of overtaking. And then after Baku we have Russia and the season finale in Malaysia. So some good overtaking tracks compared to Hungary itself. Possibility of rain in pretty much all of them bar Bahrain, and possibly Malaysia. So we've got some good races coming up on the calendar, that's for sure. And then of course the Champion of Champions race on the 10th of December, don't miss that. I believe that'll be streamed on the F1 channel itself, and there'll be a race between all of the winners from the 3 divisions. So going back to our race at the moment, Keegan has a 2.5 second gap to Timsher now. He is closing, the McLaren driver. He's getting closer and he can sniff a podium. And once he gets a whiff, he will not stop. Keegan is he's not slow, but he's not as quick as he used to be, that's for sure. And Kunamatata sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:25.2. So he's definitely not letting off. He's still going for it, and he's got a smaller gap than it was originally to Steve, but Steve just maybe dropping off a little bit that lap. Never mind, he goes faster at 1:24.2. And that was pretty much the same, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, so it was 0.02 of a second slower, so I'm not sure. Oh, sorry, it was almost a whole second faster. Sorry, my bad. Than the car in front of him. And Kunamatata just going through the middle sector now. So he's got 2.5 laps left. Very controlled from the Italian today. Oh, and that's Timsher off! He's gone off, so he's made that very easy for Keegan. Oh my goodness, the pressure was obviously just too much for him. James, he's not going to be close enough to capitalise on that. Oh, Timsher, he's done it again. He's lost half of his wings, so Jamesy will probably get him. He's got 2.5 laps to go. Oh my goodness gracious me. Timsher has bottled it once again. He was made a very audacious move going into Maggots and Beckett's last week at Silverstone and got caught out by it, and he's completely lost it in the first sector somewhere here in Hungary this weekend. It's just not going very well for him at all, and Kunamatata goes fastest, but Steve is still catching. It's not going to be enough, however. Jamesy is catching. Is he going to pit though? This will be the big question. Will he pit? He's not pitting, so he's going to stay out and pray that he doesn't get caught by that man behind him that is the current championship leader in F3. So he's not going to give up by any means. Keegan's got a chance to make a gap if he's got any time penalties at the moment. He's got a 4.5 second gap already over the Dutchman. So it'll be interesting to watch how these two get round each other now. Fear has got a huge gap to Smertens in front and Cook Monster behind, so 7th is pretty much guaranteed for him. As KLC goes fast as a 1:21.7, so I don't think that will be beaten. He is in 9th place currently, so he'll be finishing pretty soon, I imagine, if he's 2 laps down, or maybe just a lap and a half down. So he'll be finishing at the end of this lap along with Cook Monster. So make sure not to go on board with those guys as Fear comes over the line to go onto his second to last lap. And the Kunamatata goes fastest again. So 1:21.4. So he did actually beat KLC's time, to be fair to him. Will Steve go faster than a 1:21.4? So bragging rights at the moment between these two. And he does a 1:20.8, so 6/10 faster. He's a lot quicker than Kuna Matata at this stage. But on the last lap of the race, it doesn't look like it's going to amount to anything. As we've got a yellow in sector 2 and 3. KLC has put it in the wall. So unfortunately for him, that's not very good. Oh, Fear going very wide coming out of turn 5. He's recovered it. Oh, has he? Oh, no, he has. Sorry, it was just a camera angle there. Smertens is about to come across the line onto his last lap. As Jamesy gets past Timsha on the final lap of the race. And he's going to swoop round the outside. Timsha has no reply with half a wing. And Jamesy's recovery drive gets him 4th. Presumably as our winner today, Kuna Matata. As he comes round the second to last corner, he's almost going to lap his teammate. As Cook Monster goes fastest on those soft tyres. And Fear just... And that will be first place for Kuna Matata. Congratulations to him. He will shorten that gap in the championship, depending on where Jamesy finishes. And Steve is going to come home in second place. And it looks like Keegan's going to grab the final podium spot here. He's done well today. He started really far down, but he's got back into 3rd place. Jamesy's going to recover into 4th place, and Timsha, unfortunately for him, is going to come home in 5th. He had a podium in the bag at one point. It's just not gone well for him. Smertens, however, started P15 up into P6. And he's done well, in fairness to him. As we see, the Cook Monster's made 6 stops. My goodness. Fear has already crossed the line, and we're just waiting for... Oh no, Fear, sorry, wasn't a lap down, so he's got to go again. Cook Monster in AI mode at the moment, so Fear's got to do another lap, unfortunately. As Cook Monster going very slowly. Fear can't lose any more positions though, so he will finish 7th, Cook Monster will finish 8th. And KLC will finish 9th if he can get to the line before he runs out of fuel or loses the wheel. Wow, that is not very professional at all. So putting donuts on the last lap of the race is not a good image, that's for sure. So he finally gets across the line, and not very professional from KLC there. He will finish 9th though, but I'm sure that'll be debated at some point, sorry. And now for your podium sitters for today. So a good result for Kuna Matata, who shortens that gap in the chase for the championship and promotion spots into F2. Cook Monster finishes the lap down with the Huscar KLC finishing 2 laps down. Keegan finishing 3rd, he needed that gap in the end, 3 seconds to Timsha, who actually beats Jamesy on time penalty, so he keeps 4th place in that Force India. He would have probably got 3rd, but unfortunately for him, couldn't keep it on the track. Smertens finishing 6th, up from 15th, good for him. Keegan starting 12th. Probably the best driver on track today, even losing that position to Jake, who unfortunately put it in the wall, who probably would have got the driver of the day if he had kept his car out of the wall. Unfortunately for him, turn 11 takes no prisoners. So that's it for this week. We'll join you, well, you can join us next week in Spa. We'll be live from 6 PM. Join us then again for another race. And I hope you enjoyed today, and good luck if you're racing in F1 later on. Bye bye for now.